we are revisiting a program that I reviewed in the past. And a lot of you told me when I did that program review that there were other programs that were better that I should review. We're gonna find out if that's true. What's up everyone, Jason Brown here, the king of programming. Back for another program review. Nick Bear is on the chopping block. Again, we did a program review of his a while back. It's actually one of the first reviews. A lot of you, chimed in and said that, yes, this is crazy. A lot of the stuff that he was having people do is crazy. And then some of you chimed in and said, well, his program now is a lot more tamed down and that program is old and yada, yada, yada. So I said, okay, well, let's go back in. Let's see what's there and let's take another peek. So today, I am looking at the Hybrid Athlete 3.0. There's a lot of programs in here, so I don't know. I think this is the most recent program, but it is a 12-week program and it has a makeup of very much a hypertrophy style program in conjunction with running. Now, we see a lot of programs that are hybrid where they're essentially trying to build endurance while building strength, while building lean tissue. And the question is can you get that done? I think you can. And that's something we do on our programs. But I think that trying to structure it with body part split, to me, doesn't make a ton of sense because there is going to be a fair amount of soreness, which will take away from your running. That is my personal preference. I don't care what you guys think about that, to be honest. You guys can do it however you want. I am going to show you the fundamentals of what I see in these programs. What are the fundamentals? Exercise order, exercise selection, sets, reps, and rest intervals, conditioning. Obviously, this program is a hybrid program, is going to have conditioning. And is there a rhyme and a reason to what we're doing? We've seen some programs that are just all over the place, too much volume, haphazard in nature. I will tell you the program review I did of his first was borderline negligent, asking people to do hundreds upon hundreds of reps of abdominal work before they do heavy squats and deadlifts. Why? Why would you do that? Doesn't make sense to me, but those are things that were in that program. The last program review was very much overkill. It was not an approved program. Let's just get that out of the way. So let's see. I am looking at this with a new lens. I look at all of these the same way. I try to keep my bias out of it, but of course, I am a human being and I have biases. So if you don't like my biases, then that's, I guess, something that you have to deal with and maybe you just don't want to subscribe to my channel. But either way, I am showing you guys what I see and I try to stay as very close to the fundamentals as I can. So let's take a look at what's here. So we've got essentially, again, a body part split. We've got chest, back, body weight, lower body, shoulders and arms, and that's week 1, okay? And then week 2 looks like we go into that again. Actually, on day 6, there's a long run, which is just a long run, which I like, and then an off day, and then we go into that structure again. So that's a plus so far. Something I've been doing on these recent reviews is looking at the structure across weeks. Now, I'm not going into every single day in week 2, but I'm looking at to see if there is a common theme, and there is with this program, so that's a check mark. So let's look at day 1. If I remember correctly, we started every day with 5 miles of running. So 5 miles of running to start your day. If you can do an alternate session, that's great. If you can't, you're doing 5 miles running and then lifting. There are 2 different things. There are different energy sources when we do a aerobic event followed by an anaerobic event. So they are different things. It would be ideal to separate them. I'm sure there are people that are probably doing them back to back. If you've got that kind of time, then by all means, but if you do have that kind of time, it'd probably be in your best interest to separate those things by 3 to 4 hours. All right, so we're starting off with, guess what? Another core circuit. So this is what we saw in the first program. GHD sit-ups, L-sit, cable crunch, 4 rounds of that. 20 GHD sit-ups, so that's 80 reps. Just, for our mathematicians out there, I'm terrible at math, but I can tell you that 4 times 20, it's 80 reps, right? Tony, am I correct? 80 reps. So it's 80 GHD sit-ups. That's a lot for anyone. I don't care who you are. CrossFit athlete, that's a lot of reps. Then we're doing 30 seconds of L-sit hold, which is a long length of time to do an L-sit hold. And then we're doing cable crunches for 15 reps times 4. That's 60 reps. Again, my math is not very good, but I know that this is a lot. So we're doing this before we do some main lifts of the day. And actually, he's got a chest activation warm-up. And then we go into dumbbell chest press, chest fly, incline barbell bench, and then a dip and med ball push-up superset. So just overkill in the upper body. Exercise order is off. This barbell bench press should be earlier on in the session, and it should be a longer rest interval. So you're just annihilated before you even get to the main movement of the day. So I don't know if I have any more to say about this, but this is just overkill with everything. We're doing so much just to get into the main pressing pattern, which is our barbell bench. He's got you doing 6 sets of dumbbell chest press with 60 seconds rest before you get into that. Again, you actually got a chest fly before that for 4 sets of 12, and then you go into your barbell bench press. Hopefully I don't have to say anything more about that, but this day, sets, reps, and rest intervals off. Exercise order off. The exercise selection is actually probably okay if you just move things around. So anyways, let's move on. Let's take a look at our next day, which is an easy run followed by a back session. So we've got 7 miles of running today. Again, same feedback on that, separate it if you can. And then we do another core circuit of core pulse ups, an L-sit again, hanging leg raise. So training the core very similarly that we did on day 1. A little bit less volume. I guess that's a plus because I'm already fucking crushed from day 1. Because I did 80 GHD sit-ups. You're gonna be crushed from that. And we're doing that before we do the main work, which is our pull-up and chin-up superset, 4 sets to fail of pull-up and chin-up. So I guess you're doing pull-ups first and then chin-ups, which actually makes sense because the pull-up is a pronated grip. It's gonna rely more on the upper back. Chin-up, we get obviously more biceps. You know, the joint angle is different with that. It's more advantageous for the bicep can actually generate more force in a supinated position as opposed to pronated. So that order makes sense, but you're doing it to failure and then resting 90 seconds. So you're doing 2 variations of pull-up. So pull-up, then chin-up, and then to failure for both of those, and then you're resting 90 seconds. So the rest interval is not long enough. It's got to be longer. True failure, rest 3 minutes between those sets. And again, do you need to do 4 sets? You could probably get it done in 3. How much is your work output going to drop off? But overall, I like this, and I think that you could rest longer and you just get rid of this core circuit, and then the day is doing all right. We've got pendlay row, 4 sets of 12, 60 seconds rest. And then we've got a dumbbell row, lat pull down superset, rows on rows, different angles, yes. But again, agonist superset, you're working the same musculature. Cable pull down, 3 sets of 12, 45 seconds rest, then hammer curl, 3 sets of 10, 45 seconds rest. So order, doing this core work before you do all this is gonna have a very big negative effect on the main lifts of the day. My feedback is really the same for this day as it was for day 1. I actually think this day is probably a little bit better, but that's really not saying much. So let's move on. We've got a fartlek run and then body weight strength. Well, thank God it's body weight because I don't know if I could do any more resistance training after those first 2 days. 7.3 miles of running. Why 7.3? Oh, I see. He's got you doing a mile jog and then 0.1 mile sprint. Yeah, so I'm not here to critique the running stuff. I mean, that's its own thing. But I think if we're doing this all in the same day, you know, is it feasible? Maybe for some people, but 150 push-ups and then 60 pull-ups. We just did max reps pull-ups on Tuesday. Now we're doing more volume, 60 reps. Overkill, guys, overkill. So we're going into another day here. There's actually no running on this day, which is probably a good thing because, I mean, how much running? I don't know how much running someone can do that's on this program, but that's a fair amount of running for the people that are just looking for longevity and build their aerobic system. If you train 180 minutes of aerobic work per week, cyclically, so you do an air bike, an air runner, elliptical, whatever, you can get a big bang for the buck. But obviously, you know, to be completely honest with you guys, I'm not here to critique the running as much as I am the actual program design with the resistance training. So let's take a peek at what we've got here. So we've got lower body activation, we've got another core circuit. Again, same angles as far as our core work. And then we go into barbell back squats, 65% of 1 rep max for 12 reps, 85% for 4 sets of 5, and then 65% of 1 rep max for failure reps. So squat, squat, squat. After we've done our core work. And again, how are you feeling from previous days? That's another question to ask. And then we go into a dumbbell stiff leg deadlift, Bulgarian split squat. Rest intervals are way too low. Can you imagine doing 85% of your 1 rep max back squat and only resting 60 seconds between sets for 5 reps? Like, unless you're an untrained individual and you don't have really a whole lot of weight in the tank, it's still not gonna be enough rest. You need to rest longer. So argue that however you want. And then we end with some isolation work. The order of this day, if you just got rid of all this crap in the beginning, you just squatted and you rested longer, this would be a pretty solid day of training. Bulgarian split squat, 45 reps per leg. Now, again, another question asked, do we need that much volume? That remains to be seen. But what I think is that the fundamentals are just not there with this program. And they weren't there with the last one either. This program actually looks no better than the last one, maybe slightly better. All right, so we got another core circuit to start. We got 6 miles of running today, and now we're going into lateral raise, front raise, superset, and then single arm dumbbell shoulder press, and then barbell shoulder overhead press with 60 seconds rest with 3 sets of 10. Again, not enough rest. It doesn't, I'm getting irritated. I might have to retire from doing these reviews because I'm just getting irritated doing this. But overall, we got the same things going on here. Exercise order, barbell shoulder press. Why is it so far down on the day? Why not move that up? The core circuit is overkill. Core. Train your core 3 days a week. Do 1 day, bending, side bending. Do 1 day of anti-extension. Do 1 day of rotational. Do 1 day where you're resisting rotation. You can do loaded carries. You can do cable work. A lot of different things you can go through with that. There's a lot of ways to train the core. You don't need to do all of this just inordinate amount of volume of crunching and doing sit-ups. Again, just overkill in this program. You do not need it. And to be honest, you can warm up your core. You could do some planks before you start your training or in your activation series for your warm-up and be good to go. You could do 3 sets of 30 seconds and be good to go. You don't need to do 7 million GHD sit-ups. So again, my feedback is the same on this day as it was the other days. And then he's got a long run and then an off day. Overall, again, this guy, I'm kind of almost feel stupid doing this review again because it's no different than the first review I did. I'm sure, hopefully you guys took something from this, but this program it's the 3.0 program, so it's supposed to be better, or maybe it's just an updated version of that original program, or it's harder. I don't know, but the fundamentals are off, guys. So I don't care if it's newer or it's supposed to be improved. The fundamentals are not there. The exercise order is way up. There is way too much core work. You're crushing people's midline before they do main lifts. I think that there are really nothing that I want to add to this other than the fact that the pros of it is that you are having people do aerobic work. People do need aerobic work, which I think that is good. You know, having people do strength training is good. People do need to do strength training. So I'm really trying to pull some cons here. I don't want to be overly negative on every time I do these reviews, but I find myself just getting irritated by just the lack of common sense with a lot of these programs. So those are things that are definitely pros, but the cons are everything I mentioned. All the fundamentals are just completely out the window. So this is, without a doubt, a rejected program. If you want to learn more about programming, check out my weekly electronic WOD newsletter. The link is in the description.
Best program available on the internet today.
I think it's very difficult to find a trainer like Jason that...
Since joining Everyday Heroes, I feel like I've stopped working out and actually started training.